Michigan's got a new man in charge on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side. We talked offense and ran down the positions with Justin Rowe from Blue by 90. Check out those videos. Now we turn to the defense with Wolverines on the field for spring practice in Ann Arbor. Hey, Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. Let's run down the defense. Mike McDonald maybe missed a lot. We'll see. Jess Minter certainly qualified, did good things at every stop along the way for him. Let's dive into that defensive line position and see who you've got coming back. And, of course, the two big bookends going off to the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be interesting. At the surface level, you look at Jesse Minter and what he did at Vanderbilt last year, and they were at the bottom of just about every category in defense. But it's Vanderbilt, so how much is that Jesse Minter coaching? How much is that just Vanderbilt not having talent? I would err on the latter, but who knows how that'll turn out. I think it's a good young hire again, which has been Harbaugh's go-to for the past 2 years, and it seems to be working out for him. But when we're looking at the D-line, you hit the nail on the head, and everybody knows it. David Ajabo and Nathan Hutchinson are gone, so how do you replace those guys? Well, on the edge, what we would be looking at is, thankfully, two seniors. Mike Morris is going to be a senior who has gotten a decent amount of play in rotation, but has never been that guy. Obviously, you're not going to be when you're, sitting behind the number one draft pick, but it's a guy who does have experience and, obviously has been around the program for a while. Same with Taylor Upshaw on the other end, and he's actually going to be a grad senior. So they've got older guys. They're going to be veterans. So it's not like you're replacing Hutchinson and Ajabo with brand new guys that have never touched the field or have only been in the weight room for a year. And, you've got redshirt freshmen coming in. They're definitely senior guys. And then on the inside, it's similar. You got Mazi Smith, who will be a senior as well. Some were thinking he may have left after this year, but he did not. He's coming back, I believe. And so Mazi Smith is a guy that has all the tools and was just starting to finally put it together in 2021 for Michigan. People wanted to see him, a former 4/5 star out of East Kentwood. They wanted to see him really take that step, and he did that in 2021. And you hope to see him take the next one in 2022 as well. And then beside him, Chris Jenkins and I think Julius Walshoff will both be guys that battle for the other spot too. Chris Jenkins is a junior. I believe that he could take a really huge jump from his sophomore to his junior year and be a standout for Michigan. And then Welshoff has been he's from Germany, so he's got a little foreign blood in him. And so just like David Ajabo from Scotland, hoping that we can bring some of that European juice over here too.
Talking up the Michigan Wolverines on the defensive side, we got Justin Rowe on the line from Blue by 90 podcast. They upload on both Monday and Friday, so you check out the latest in Michigan with March Madness right here as well. All right, Justin, of course, Josh Ross was a tremendous player for this program. Junior Colson seems to be the guy that would be pegged next in line in terms of a breakout star at the next level.
Yeah, and this is another situation. We talked about some guys on the offensive side of the ball, specifically the offensive line, where you're losing a guy that has unbelievable senior leadership, but you're replacing him with a guy that could be more athletic, and it might be an actual improvement in terms of what you need in the position. And that's what Junior Colson is bringing. He was a freshman All-American coming in at linebacker that cemented his starting spot by the end of the year. And so he's a guy that Josh Ross did a lot of great things. Great run stopper, great leader, called the plays, all that type of stuff. Junior Colson is an unbelievable athlete. Fast, physical, tall. He's got everything. So if he can become not only that athlete, but also the leader that calls the plays too, he could really, really, really be an incredible player for Michigan. And aside from him, a guy that also got a ton of play as a sophomore last year is Nikai Hill-Green. So he's a guy, very large human being, tall. He's 6'3", I believe. just a big dude. So those two guys coming back in the middle for Michigan, I think, are super important for this defense. As the defense turns over a lot of new guys, it's obviously nice to have some middle linebackers that are, that have some run already and have played really well for Michigan.
When we look at the commits that come in for 2022, of course, we'll get to the secondary here in just a second because some of the bigger names are there in the secondary. In the front seven, is there anybody that really hits you as a guy that could make an impact early?
There are a couple guys. So you've got Derek Moore on the D line. So he's going to be a 4-star that comes in for Michigan, 6'4", 250. So he's already got decent size. I could see him getting some play. Honestly, I would, as much as I'd like to say there would be commits that come in and play right away, I just think the seniority that Michigan's front seven has, even though they weren't big names in 2021, they've been around the program for so long, they're going to get their shot. So I do think there are a couple guys that could do that. Derek Moore would be one as a 2022 commit. I'm looking through it. Mason Graham is a 4-star as well on the D line. I think there are a few, but I really don't see Michigan having too many freshman impact players on the front seven. Now, as you said, in the backfield, in the defensive backfield, that may be different.
Got Justin Rowe here breaking down the Michigan defense. The Wolverines are on the field trying to get better for 2022 and keep that Big Ten championship. Join Justin on a Blue by 90 podcast. Uploads on Monday and Friday. In the secondary, Daxton Hill and, of course, Brad Hawkins are huge losses at the safety spots. Kind of size things up from there.
Yeah, so you lose Brad Hawkins, Vincent Gray, and Dax Hill in the secondary. There's no way to get around it. Those are 3 huge losses. Dax Hill is one of the most athletic guys to ever come through Michigan on the defensive side of the ball. Fast as hell, physical, can cover just about anybody. Brad Hawkins was that grad senior leader that has been around it, and Vince Gray took big leaps for Michigan at the corner position after a struggle of a 2020. So how do they replace those guys? Well, they're going to try to with a couple different guys. I think Jamon Green is a senior. He played a decent amount by the end of 2021 and it was playing pretty well alongside Vince Gray. So I think that's a guy that will, step in as a senior. And then on the other side, DJ Turner played quite a bit as well by the end of the year. So DJ Turner is a senior too. So there's a question, though. Do you play the seniors that have played for you, or is Will Johnson, the 5-star, going to come in and make an impact right away? Because you look at Will Johnson, I don't know if you've looked at any film of him. He looks ready to play at the college level. He's physical, he's strong, he's big, he's fast. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I haven't heard anything in spring ball yet, but I do wonder what he'll do there. And then on the other side, also, Jaden McBurrows has shown, even in 2021 as a freshman, he showed a little bit of spark as well, even as a youngin. And then, when you're in the middle, like we talked about, Dax Hill and Brad Hawkins, losing them, how do you replace guys in the middle at the safety position? Well, Rod Moore was the one that came in for Michigan as a freshman also, and even got some play, even though Brad Hawkins and Dax Hill were playing so well. He found his way into the rotation a little bit. Rod Moore, super fast. He's a 3-star, so nothing flashy, but really, really fast kid and played well in coverage. So I see him getting a starting role from the get-go. And then R.J. Moten as well. R.J. Moten is a junior who got some play by the end of 2020 as well. I thought, obviously, Mike McDonald's not back, but I thought he did a great job of rotating some younger guys in to get them some play during 2021. And we'll see how that all pans out.
And with the defense losing more playmakers by far than the offense, and also in looking at the 22 recruiting class, 6 of the top 8, if you're just looking at star ratings, are on the defensive side of the ball. And in addition to Will Johnson looking at that safety spot with both Hawkins and Hill gone, we'll see if Keon Sabb and Zeke Berry can make an immediate impact as well.
Absolutely. And don't forget about Miles Pollard and Damani Dent too. They're 3 stars. So, but I really like what they bring to the table as well. And so I thought it was a tremendous pull for Michigan in the 2022 class in terms of the defensive secondary. You know, guess what? Ron Bellamy is back at Michigan. He's doing really well with the safeties position. He's now over on the wide receiver side of the ball. So he's not recruiting for that position anymore. But Steve Clinkscale is. And Steve Clinkscale is going to be a co-D coordinator now with Jesse Minter. So I really like what they're doing on the recruiting front. But, yeah, you know, the guys that you talked about there, Keon Sabb could be. He is a playmaker. And then Zeke Berry is as well. You know, I really like what those guys can bring to the table. I think – Michigan's defense, although they're reloading, you know, and they did lose a lot, I think they're still going to be in great shape for the next few years, you know, barring what Jesse Minter brings to the table too.
Jake Moody, just about as good as you could ask. 23-25 last season, and Brad Robbins comes back a healthy 46.3 yards per punt. Both those guys come back. That's got to be an obvious strength that you retain the two specialists, and they were two of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're Blue by 90 athletes too. So we sponsor them as well, both the kicker and the punter. They're
Cool.
good friends of the pod. So great guys too. And so there's, you know, we've talked about the talent, obviously. And like you said, having a kicker, it's about, you ask any coach in the country, having a solid kicker that you can rely on, maybe one of the most important things you can have. And then same with punting too. So very important that you got those two guys back. But I think too, what it really means is, how do you know, we've talked with them on the podcast, we've talked with a couple seniors, how do you replace an Aiden Hutchinson in terms of leadership and that types of thing? Yeah, well, Brad Robbins and Jake Moody are going to be a part of that as well. Obviously, they're special teams. They're not going to be, you know, hitting people and going crazy. But
sorry about that.
I'll pick it back up.
I'm constantly like shutting this thing off and turning it back on, and I always forget which is which. Okay, my bad.
All good. No, you're fine. So you know, when you're thinking about losing Aiden Hutchinson in his leadership, you have to replace that with somebody. But having guys back, you know, I know special teams you don't think of as the guy that are, you know, those aren't the guys that are giving the pregame speech. But a Brad Robbins and a Jake Moody coming back as seniors and grad seniors, you know, Brad Robbins is coming back for his 6th year. So these are guys, when you have young guys possibly as like J.J. McCarthy and Donovan Edwards, you want those older guys to still be around. So I think not only are, because they're talented, it's important that they're coming back, but from a leadership perspective as well, that's big for the special teams unit.
So this is cool about Moody and Robbins on the podcast. So do they have a regular appearance on Blue by 90?
We had them on probably 3 or 4 times during the season. We're going to do some fun stuff during after spring ball here too, where like I think all 3 of us on the podcast are going to try and kick it as far as Moody can, just himself. But we'll do some fun video content with them as well. They're great guys, and so yeah, they're super talented and they're fun. They actually, their funniest thing is they are always trying to switch places. They're gonna they always are telling their special teams coach, hey, one of these times, you know, Brad's like, I'm gonna go kick the PAT and Jake's gonna hold it for me. And same with the punting, because they're both really talented on either way.
That's cool. Maybe at 45-0 against fill in the blank, they'll get that shot.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
When you think back on how good the coverage units have been, the return units, both punt and kickoff, any concerns there? Any thoughts toward 22?
Yeah, AJ Henning is back. You know, he was phenomenal, I thought, as a kick returner So really excited about having him back there. And, you know, you think about Blake Corum too. Blake Corum at the end of the year, his ankle was banged up, so he wasn't returning much, but I think he'll be back there a lot as well. And I wonder who in this next class, you know, what young guys are going to take on that role. You know, is Roman Wilson, is Ronnie Bell going to be back there? Ronnie Bell returned punts for Michigan, and that was how he got hurt in the beginning of the year. So do they put him back there again? Do they risk it? He was a great returner, but does Jim Harbaugh say, I want him as a wide receiver and not returning punts? So it'll be interesting to see how, you know, how the punt return and the kick return units pan out as well.
Justin Rowe, Blue by 90 podcast. Another reason to get on over there when you got Jake Moody and Brad Robbins stopping by every so often. Good stuff. All right, Justin, appreciate you stopping by. When we get some news out of spring practice, we'll hunt you down.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll come out. It'll trickle out at some point, but, you know, they like to keep those walls tight right now.